A very long time ago in the ancient era of 1982, hearts and minds were changed all across the nation. The one game considered the best game of all time by all gamers ever was made, based on one of the best movies of the time, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. E.T. for the Atari Entertainment System. When I was a little girl, I loved this game. Of course, I don't need to tell you that. Oh, so many people have reviewed this game already. I mean, the only bad thing I can say about this game is that there's nothing bad about it. It proudly holds the title of #1 most top 10 lists, remaining completely unchallenged for that spot. Though Superman 62 was a very close second. In all seriousness though, everyone already knows this game. There's hardly anything else that I can say about it. This game has been reviewed and talked about and parodied to death. My personal favourite spoof is the Code Monkeys episode that was based on the legend. The angry video game nerd made a fucking movie about it. It is infamous for being considered one of the worst games ever created. But why is it considered one of the worst games ever created? I mean, surely there are worse games out there. Because it started a measly crash of video games? In my opinion, I think people are a bit too harsh on you, Et. The film itself is about an alien visitor who befriends a young boy named Elliot, whose help he needs to develop a phone to call his people and return home. Atari bought the video game rights for approximately $20 to $25 million. The creative team behind the game only had a few months to create the game and have it out by the Christmas season that year. It sold relatively well despite bad word of mouth, but Atari made the stupid mistake of making more copies of the game than there actually were Atari consoles. Their logic? People will like this game so much that they'll go out and buy Atari 2600 consoles. The fact is that Atari now had unsold and returned copies of E.T. and not sure what to do with them, they just decided to bury them in a landfill in Alamogordo, New Mexico. It is this game, as well as the Atari 2600 port of Pac-Man, that is often blamed for the video game crash of 1983, where people just kinda stopped playing video games. I mean, could you imagine that happening today? Video games just not being cool anymore, to anyone. To anybody.
And there are a lot of other factors like inflation and the flooded console market.
Pretty much anyone could make a game, and most developers were inexperienced. I mean, this was pretty much the dawn of the console video game. Not to mention competition from home computers. Well, okay then, let's see what this video game has to offer us. No, seriously, Ed. What happened to your face? You look like melted cheese. So starting up the game straight up, you quickly realize that you are going to need a manual, because without it, you're pretty much clueless. What's this? Oops, fell into a hole. What's that? Oh, I fell into a pit again. Hey, what's this thing? Oh, it turned into a flower. What are you smiling about? You think you know me? You think you know me? You don't know me. You don't know the things that I've seen and the things that I've done. You don't know how much milk I like in my cereal. And yes, before I go on, this cobra-looking thing with legs is in fact E.T. The programmer, Howard Scott Warshaw, handpicked by Spielberg himself, had only 5 weeks to complete this game before production deadlines for the Christmas season, as I mentioned before, and boy does it show! I mean, you really have to kind of put yourself in the mindset of the times. Everyone was competing in the video game market, and people didn't really care much about making good games or quality, just experimenting with new methods and seeing what stuck. Ouch! Oh shoot, are you hurt? Are you hurt? Did I step on your feet, E.T.? Feety? E.T. is lost on Earth and wants to get home. I'll call him a cab. Help him build an interplanetary telephone to call for assistance before his energy runs out. Ha! You and me both. I never get any sleep. Beware of government agents and curious scientists who will sap E.T.'s precious energy. Nighty-night, E.T. What you actually have to do is search for these phone pieces in pits. So you you walk around these dark shades of green, trying not to step onto slightly darker shades of green. There are two enemies in this game which you have to avoid, which are the FBI agent and the scientist. Now let's talk about these two characters for a second. The FBI agent steals your fucking phone pieces and then scatters them around so you have to find them again. And your only way of avoiding him is run button, which I don't often risk on account of accidentally falling into these pits! And if you happen to be in the corner of the screen and an FBI agent happens to spawn in that exact same spot, then you're gonna be looking for your phone pieces all over again. The scientist, however, just briefly stunts your progress by taking you to this prison or coliseum looking thing. See, it's hard to tell with these old Atari graphics, you mostly had to use your imagination. You can also collect Reese's Pieces and summon Elliot for extra points at the end of the game, but in my opinion the extra points really don't matter. Beating the game is an achievement in and of itself. Now you're probably wondering what these nonsensical symbols at the top mean. Well, I'll just quickly explain them. The directional symbols point you in the direction of a piece of the space phone. These three columns? Press the action button as soon as you see this symbol, and any enemy that happens to be on the same screen as you will quickly leave you alone. This question mark? Press the button and it shows you where a piece is. This spaceship symbol? Do not forget where you saw this spaceship symbol. This is a spot where you have to go to call your spaceship once you have all three pieces of the telephone, and it's randomly generated in every game, so do not forget where you saw this if you do in fact see it. When you have all three pieces, you call your ship, and it will start a timer. This target looking thing? Well, that's where the spaceship will pick you up from. Be here once the timer runs out after you've called your ship. You know, I just realized, this game pretty much set the precedent for all bad movie licensed games that came out after it. It's kind of hilarious. Okay, so I just gotta wait here, and motherfucker! This is not the time, you little shit! There we go. Alright, cold turkey sandwiches. Well, that's pretty much all there is to say for this game, but we're not done yet. Oh no, no, no. Not by a long shot. I ain't done beating this horse to death. People all over the internet swear up and down about how this is the worst game of all time. Well, I'm here to prove to you today that not only is this not the worst game of all time, it isn't even the worst E.T. game by far. That's right, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary, we're going to have ourselves an E.T. party. An E.T. marathon, if you will. Why am I buttering a Pop-Tart? Wait a minute, but that means... Miss Pac-Man, no! She was Pac-Man with a bow on her head. Now let's move on to E.T. Phone Home for Atari 8-bit computers. In this game, you start off by playing as Elliot. As you, yep, you guessed it, search the neighborhood for phone pieces. Wow. Now, it took a bit of trial and error to realize what I had to do in this game. Actually, for its time, this looks like it was a pretty solid game. The controls are efficient and responsive, the houses look like houses, the individual phone pieces, no idea what they are. They're pretty hard to decipher. What are these things? Mini rocket, chessboard, snake... Yeah, you know, all the essential components for a space phone.
Space phone.
Now already there are a few problems. While it's not unplayable, it is confusing. Basically the idea is to find the items scattered around the map, collect them, and then bring them back to this tiny green square where you started, which I assume is Elliot's house? You can even telepathically communicate with E.T. No, really, that's what this pause screen is, to find out how many pieces you have left to collect. When you pick up a pod, it becomes a red hockey puck, which floats in front of you for some reason? You take all three items back to this green square, and you're pretty much done with Elliot's segment. And herein lies another problem with this game. There is nothing to distinguish the one green square where you can drop off items from the billions of other green squares where you cannot drop off items. So if you assume that you can drop off items at any green patch, you're pretty much wasting your time. Ah! Okay, jeez. Go do that then. Once you've done that, you control ET, and you have to get to the tiny green square in the forest on the opposite end of the map. In terms of enemies, you still have to deal with FBI agents and scientists and such. So basically, when you think about it, in all honesty, it's really just a better version of the Atari 2600 game. Kudos to the creators on that one. Ah, crap, it's ET. No, don't let him on. He's so weird. Great, now we're gonna have to put up with him for the rest of the trip. Hey, how's it going, E.T.? Long time no see. Third on our list, a European game titled E.T. Go... Come. What? What? The less I know about that one, the better. No. Featuring many of your favorite characters, like E.T., Jelly Toast Man, Kool-Aid Guy, Deflated Mr. Smiley, Tree, Satan, and There's not really much to say about this game. In fact, it's kind of an anomaly. It was created in Europe and published by Quell, which is a company I can't find any information about on the internet. But would you believe it? It is actually a reskin of another game titled Aliens Return. Grandma, is that you? You stuck in the game, Grandma? You're stuck in the game right there. This game is incredibly rare to find, and most copies have the typo ET Go Come on it. In this game, your goal is simply to find the parts for your space phone home, and while doing so, avoiding evil alien kidnappers. You're supposed to touch these stations here, press the action button so a piece of your ship will appear in one of these four corners of the screen, go to them, go back to the station that you started at, and then repeat the process with every single station in the game. Sometimes enemies will come out of these stations and you're supposed to be able to stop them with this thing that you drop down. I don't know. The game looks ridiculously like Pac-Man, and Steven Spielberg once requested that the E.T. Atari 2600 game be a game similar to Pac-Man. So, who knows? Maybe this spawned from that request? I doubt it though, but probably just a coincidence. Just telling you now, I just gotta tell you, not sure if you're ready to hear this, but spoiler alert, none of these characters actually appear in the game. None of them. Also, Snape kills Dumbledore. This is a worse case of false advertising than when I saw Neverending Story. It was 1 hour and 47 minutes. Huh. Why do thoughts echo so much? I mean, they're not physical sound waves, that's just silly. Where was I? Oh right, the review. Well then, didn't we have fun today, kids?
No.
You shut up. So, we've looked at around about 3 ET games so far, but there are more. Oh gosh, are there more. So if you don't want to miss out on that, be sure to scrub Diddly Bubble so you'll never be sad again. My name's Mitchell00, and as always, catch you later, dear viewers. After you've subscribed, you can follow me on Twitter or like the Facebook page to stay up to date on all future projects that I may or may not be doing on this channel. Also, new episode of Dialga and Palkia coming soon. Okay, love you, bye.